Look at the back of almost any vegetable seed packet, and you'll find instructions telling you to plant in neat, widely spaced rows. That spacing is required to drive a large tractor through a commercial farm field. But applying that same industrial layout to a small backyard garden leaves a massive percentage of your soil completely empty and unproductive. This drawing illustrates an alternative approach called bio-intensive planting. By packing plants tightly together like this, you can generate up to 5 times more food out of the exact same footprint. To build a system like this, you need 4 specific components: an empty raised bed frame, a loose blend of compost-rich soil, material to build a physical grid, and your seeds. By abandoning the commercial habit of planting in rows, you can engineer a highly efficient engine for localized food production. Here's how to build it. Step 1 is establishing your boundaries. You need to build or buy a raised bed that is 3 to 4 feet wide, which allows you to reach the center without stepping inside, and fill it with a loose, compost-rich soil blend. If you step inside your garden bed, the dirt compresses. When plant roots hit hard, compacted soil, they are forced to grow outward horizontally, competing with neighboring plants for water and nutrients. This diagram shows the required biological mechanic: roots penetrating straight downward. This only happens when soil remains aerated and uncompacted. Because roots travel vertically instead of horizontally, the plant requires far less width underground, meaning you can bring plants closer together above ground. All of the visible high-density growth on the surface is completely dependent on maintaining that loose, engineered architecture below the soil. Step 2 is physically dividing the surface of your bed into a 1 foot by 1 foot grid. You can tack narrow strips of wood across the frame, or stretch twine tightly from edge to edge. This creates the framework for a methodology known as square foot gardening, which gives you a clear mathematical structure to allocate your space. Every square is assigned a specific number of seeds based on the plant's mature size. Large crops, like peppers, require an entire 1 by 1 square, but that exact geometric space divides down to hold 4 medium plants, 9 small plants, or 16 compact crops like carrots. This rigid spacing logic ensures every crop gets the exact area it needs to reach maturity, while completely eliminating the unplanted footpath gaps of traditional rows. Step 3 moves us off the horizontal plane. Install a sturdy trellis like cattle fencing or netting, specifically along the northern edge of your garden bed. Training vining crops to climb this structure reclaims up to 75% of the ground space they would consume sprawling across the soil. You place this trellis strictly on the north side of the bed to ensure these tall crops do not cast shadows over your smaller plants as the sun tracks across the southern sky. Down on the ground level, you can maximize your footprint further through a technique called intercropping. This involves pairing complementary species in the exact same physical space. A reliable pairing is sowing fast-growing radishes in the dirt right underneath the broad leaves of a slower-growing summer squash. The mechanic here relies on timing. The radishes reach full size in just 30 days. You pull them out of the ground just as the squash leaves finally expand wide enough to claim that exact footprint. By stacking plants vertically and layering compatible species horizontally, you treat the garden as a 3-dimensional volume, multiplying the harvest capacity of every square foot. Up to this point, we have treated garden space purely as physical dimensions. But space is also temporal availability. To maintain high yields, you have to adopt the rule of succession planting. This is a strict protocol. The moment a fast-growing crop is harvested, a new seed must immediately be planted in that exact square. Leaving a grid square empty breaks the system. Unplanted dirt simply invites weeds to take hold and wastes the solar energy hitting the bed. This continuous cycle of replanting converts a static, seasonal patch of dirt into an uninterrupted food engine. When fully optimized, all the individual squares blur together perfectly. The entire garden operates as a complete, multi-layered ecosystem. This density provides secondary mechanical benefits. The thick canopy acts as a living mulch, shading the ground to naturally suppress weeds and trapping moisture to lower your water requirements. But pulling high volumes of food out of a small footprint requires you to pull massive amounts of nutrients out of the soil. To prevent the system from crashing, you must refuel it. Applying a heavy top dressing of fresh compost halfway through the season is a mandatory step to sustain this output. Growing a massive amount of food in a small space requires you to stop passively placing seeds in rows and start actively managing the geometry, timing, and biology of your footprint.